Om. 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 Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Saha Viryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Vakratunda Mahakaya Suryakoti Samaprabha Nirvignam Kuru Me Deva Sarvakaryeshu Sarvada. Saraswati Namastubhyam Varade Kamarupini Vidyarambham Karishyami Siddhir Bhavatu Me Sada. Samasta Janakalyani Niratam Karunamayam Namami Chinmayam Devam Satgurum Brahma Vidvaram Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Lankhayate Girim Yatkrapatamaham Vande Paramananda Madhavam Paramananda Madhavam. All right, let's go ahead and read from verse 45 to what we covered last time, verse 47. So just keep your books in those verses. Traigunya Vishaya Vedaha Nistraigunyo Bhavarjuna Nirdvandvo Nitya Sattvastaha Niryogakshema Atmavan. Verse 46. Yavanartha udapane sarvatas samplutodake tavan sarveshu vedeshu brahmanasya vijanataha. Karmanyevadhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana ma karma phalaheturbhuhu ma te sangostva karmani. So we are in the portion of the Bhagavad Gita, the second chapter, and Lord Krishna is speaking about Karma Yoga. And what Lord Krishna says to Arjuna, this is the attitude with which you should perform Karma Yoga, and that's in verse 45. He says, first become Atmavan, have a higher goal in mind, and then you will be free from worries and anxieties, Niryogakshema, and your mind will attain a calmness and serenity, Nitya Sattvastaha, and you will be equipoise. So he gives like a sutra for how Arjuna should be in his performance of Karma Yoga. He gives specific qualities that Arjuna should develop. And we went over each of those qualities. And the question becomes, you know, people are performing karma, regular karma, which means desire-prompted actions, you know, for their own pleasure, for their own likes, etc., for their own joy. And if I perform karma yoga, maybe I'll miss out on that. You know, people are doing things for their own pleasure, for their own sake. And if I perform karma yoga, what if I miss out? It's FOMO, right? FOMO, I'll miss out on all of that's going on in the world. So Lord Krishna says, listen, Arjuna, the one who's rooted in karma yoga and then gains jnana yoga, they are like a flood. So in verse 46, it says, they are flooded with bliss. They are flooded with bliss. And when they are flooded with bliss, what is one or two drops of these pleasures for them? Somebody who is a millionaire, who's a billionaire, what good is $10? Nothing for them. They won't even run after. They won't even look at it, right? Like that, the person who gets established in Karma Yoga, then pursues Jnana Yoga, gets established in that, their bliss is unparalleled. We can't even imagine it. And they are soaking in it. And so, Arjuna, don't worry about these little petty pleasures in the world. You won't miss out on anything. You will be full of everything. I was telling some of the youngsters the other day that we have this FOMO, fear of missing out. But what we should actually have is, for me, fear of missing in. Nobody's ever afraid. Aren't you afraid that we're missing something inside us? There's something so magical, something so wonderful inside us. But we don't seem to be concerned about that. We don't seem to be, like into it, like enthusiastic about it. But there's something inside. There's something inside here. And that's what we should be, going crazy. We shouldn't want to miss that. That is so beautiful, so powerful. And it's far greater than all this other stuff that we're pursuing. So then, now Lord Krishna says, okay, Arjuna, I'm going to tell you the actual practical methods for you to actually do this karma yoga in the world. This is very, very practical advice. Now, karma yoga, it's an art, it's a science. I mean, it's spiritual, it's everything put together. And so first he tells Arjuna, Karamani eva adhikaraha. Right now, your right is to work. Your right is the field of action, because although you have listened to the knowledge of the self, although maybe we have listened to the knowledge of the self, we're not established in it, because the mind still needs that kind of purity. It still needs that chitta shuddhi, chitta ekagrata, that focus, that subtlety. It still needs that cleansing. So he tells Arjuna, right now, your field is action. Right now, so that it will prepare your mind well, it will roast your mind well, and then you can go on to Jnana Yoga. And how am I supposed to perform this? Or how is Arjuna supposed to perform this? He says, Ma paleshu kadachana. So without being anxious over the result. And this will come again, so then we'll go into it a little bit more in the next few verses. Without being anxious for the result. And he says, don't be a karma phala hetu. Don't be somebody who's always just thinking, what am I going to get? What am I going to get? What am I going to get? And have this, the reason for one's action is because of the result. That one is just wanting to get that result, wanting to gain a specific result. Don't be that kind of person to just want that selfish kind of result and insist on a specific result. Don't be that kind of person. And he says, certainly don't be one who doesn't act at all, because one might think that action is so hard, so let me just sit down and not act. So he gives this advice to Arjuna. And when we looked at it last week, it also shakes off the tamas, rajas, and puts it in sattva. How, when he says, don't be attached to inaction, that shakes us off of tamas. So anytime we don't want to perform something, it shakes us off, because Lord Krishna says, you must act, you must act, you must do. So we have to do. But then he says, don't be that person who's always hankering for selfish desires. So that shakes us off of rajas, because a rajasic mind is always thinking about what can I get? Then he says, just do your duty. Just do whatever your duty is and let go of the results. And that puts us in sattva. So through this art of karma yoga, we move from tamas to rajas to sattva. And thereby the mind gets cleansed. So now Arjuna is still thinking and he's listening, and Lord Krishna is going to give him further clarification. So all these verses now, which are going to come, 48, 49, 50, is further clarification on this 47. So we will take that up. So we'll read verse number 48. Yogastah kuru karmani.
Yogastah kuru karmani.
Sangam tyaktva dhananjaya.
Sangam tyaktva dhananjaya.
Siddhya siddhyo samo bhutva.
Siddhya siddhyo samo bhutva.
Samatvam yoga uchyate.
Samatvam yoga uchyate.
Yogastah kuru karmani. Sangam tyaktva dhananjaya. Siddhya siddhyo samo bhutva. Samatvam yoga uchyate. So he says here, yogastaha, steadfast in yoga, kuru karmani, perform all your actions, steadfast in yoga, sangam tyaktva, and having tyaktva means having abandoned sangam, attachment, O Dhananjaya, Dhananjaya, the name for Arjuna, siddhya siddhyoho samo bhutva, having been made equanimous or equal in siddhi and asiddhi. Siddhi means gain or accomplishment. Asiddhi means loss. Samatvam yoga uchyate. The evenness, samatva means evenness of mind, is called yoga. So he says here, perform action, O Dhananjaya. Being steadfast in yoga, abandoning attachment, and balanced in success and failure, evenness of mind is called yoga. So let's see now each word. So the first word we're going to see is yogastaha. Stha, this root means to be rooted in something. You rooted in yoga. So if you remember in the previous verse, I think it was verse 39, Lord Krishna said, this much is Sankhya Buddhi, and now I'm going to tell you about Yoga Buddhi. Yoga Buddhi means Karma Yoga, right? So before, whatever he talked about, the knowledge of the self was Sankhya Buddhi, now is Yoga Buddhi. So this Yoga Buddhi is also Yogastha, being rooted in this Karma Yoga. And he says, just do your actions. Being rooted in this Karma Yoga spirit, do your actions. Now, let's take this do your actions. Do your actions means, really, I have to do first and foremost, what is my duty? What is my dharma in life? Many times we feel like we have so many desires, selfish desires we have, or even prohibited desires we have, all these kinds of things. Sometimes we end up doing all of that, but our duty. Sometimes in and through the day, we'll do all of the things we wanted to do, but our duty. And then our duty takes the last, and then we get so stressed and we get so tense because I didn't perform my duty. So he says, first and foremost, do your dharma. Now, practically, if you look at it, what if we still have desires? Oh, we still have desires to socialize, to move around, to go here, to go there. Perfectly fine. Nobody is saying don't do it. But first and foremost, focus on duty. Let dharma be the focus. Now, if we look at what is our dharma, what is our real dharma here in life? Our real dharma is to be a seeker of truth first, because this is why we came here. We came to this world, we were born to realize that we are divine. That is our ultimate dharma. And therefore, that must be the focus. That must be the focus of everything, that this is my dharma. And when this is the focus, then I can perform all my other dharmas very well. I can be a mother very well, I can be a father well, a brother, sister, child, etc. I can do that very well if I am very clear that my primary dharma is to be a seeker first, because that's why I came here. That's my first dharma. And in the light of that dharma, then I look at all other dharmas and it becomes clear what I'm supposed to do. Otherwise, we become very confused. Should I do this or should I do that? Should I go here or should I go there? So first and foremost, establish ourselves in the dharma that we are a seeker first. That is number one. Number two, don't ever think that, I can't wait for the day when my children are married and settled and I can put my feet up and relax. No, because dharma does not end. Dharma does not end. Even when your children get married, even when they have their own children, even when their own children grow up, that dharma will not end. Dharma will keep on going. Therefore, learn to just enjoy dharma. Just enjoy it. We have to do it. We have to do it. Therefore, find ways and means to enjoy it, because we cannot get out of it. It is our dharma. There is no cop-out. There's no escape. There is no getting jnana. If dharma is not clean, if we don't know how to perform dharma, forget Brahma. That's why Nandi is there in front of Lord Shiva. Before you go to Lord Shiva, you must cross Nandi. And Nandi symbolizes dharma. Then only you can go to Brahma. So, point number one, our first dharma is we are a seeker. In light of that, you see all other dharmas. Point number two, dharma will not end. Better find a way to enjoy it. And just, that's it, enjoy. And point number three, wherever we are is where we're meant to be. So don't question. Don't question God. Go on a quest for God. Then you will get all the answers. Don't question, why is God doing this? Why like this? Why? Don't question. Go on a quest. Go on a quest. And if your quest is deep enough, all the answers will be revealed to you. And you will have nothing left to ask. That is what it is. So that is dharma. So he says, you do your dharma. Now, he says, sangam tyaktva, having abandoned attachment, having let go of attachment. Now we see this word attachment. What is this word attachment? Now I'm going to put it very simply. Attachment means I plus blank is fulfillment. Because what is the real truth? I is fulfillment. I, meaning Atma, is fulfillment. But when I say I plus this person is fulfillment, I'm attached to that person. I plus this place is fulfillment, I'm attached to that place. I plus this object is fulfillment, that means I'm attached to that object. Whatever we add after that plus, which we think we're going to be fulfilled by, we are attached to that. That's called attachment. Whatever falls in that blank, that's attachment. And attachment is a block from doing dharma. We've seen it very clearly in chapter 1 of the Bhagavad Gita. How I tell the youth is, I tell them, just remember this phrase, A, B, C, D. Attachment blinds us from clearly performing dharma. Once we're attached, it's very hard to do dharma. Like Dhritarashtra. Dhritarashtra is so attached to Duryodhana, completely blind to dharma. This is what happens to us. So anything that I'm attached to, I will do adharma. It will make me do adharma. I'm attached to money, that will make me do adharma. So here, particularly, he's saying, when we're attached to a particular result, when we're attached to a particular result in the sense that we want it to be a certain way, that will create a lot of agitation, because we will get very, very stressed out. We'll get very stressed out, we'll get agitated, we'll try to manipulate this and that so that it comes to our way of thinking or our way of being. And it will create a lot of disruption, disturbance. So for our own sake, he says, that idea, now when it comes to karma yoga, attachment means having in mind a specific result and being attached to that specific result, that this should happen. Having that in mind, drop it. Drop it. Because we have seen last week, why? Because it's not in your control. Don't waste your time. We are not individual beings in society. We're all interconnected. Everybody's life affects everybody else. So there is absolutely no way we can say what's going to happen. If we could determine what's going to happen, then why pray to God? Then make everything happen the way you want. We can't do that. So he says, drop that insistence to a certain specific kind of result. And that will also free your mind so you can be present in your own action. Drop that. And he calls Arjuna Dhananjaya. Dhananjaya means the one who has conquered wealth. You know, in the Mahabharata story, all of us did the Mahabharata together. Arjuna went during the Rajasuya Yajna time, and he went to conquer wealth from different places. So Dhananjaya, the conqueror of all that wealth. But now he says, be that Dhananjaya to conquer inner wealth. Be that Dhananjaya to bring out your inner wealth now, because that's what's required. And siddhya siddhyoho samo bhutva, having become same in siddhi or asiddhi. Siddhi means accomplishment. I am able to accomplish something. We become very elated and excited, etc. Asiddhi means we failed. We didn't do well. We didn't get the results we want. So either these things can happen in action. We get what we wanted or we don't. And he says, be equanimous. Be equanimous. Why? Because yoga, the word yoga means samatvam. Samatvam means equanimity. One of the definitions of yoga is samatvam, being equanimous. Now when we hear the word yoga, we think yogasanas right away, right? Yogasanas, Surya Namaskar, etc. We think of that. But as I mentioned before, yoga means to unite, to join. Yoga also means upaya or means. So here, that which unites us with God is samatvam, is this equanimity. Now, how are we going to stay equipoise? What do you mean? Do you mean that if it's success, we will be happy? If it's failure, we'll be sad? You mean not have those emotions? How do you stay equanimous? What is a practical way to do that? So as we have seen before, and I'll just highlight these things so it becomes clear, why a karma yogi would act is only for 3 things, right? And just keep this in mind. It's G3, right? Number 1, to please God or Guru. It's your worship to God. It's your worship to your Guru. That is number 1. Number 2, it's for the good of all. It's for the benefit of society. It's not our own selfish prompted action. It's for the benefit of society. And number 3, it's for one's growth. This process will help me grow. It will help me evolve. Therefore, let me perform it. So to please God, Guru, to, good for all, to benefit society, and 3, for one's own growth. So when this becomes the purpose of action, the vision behind the action, then one can really be equanimous, because you trust that whatever happens, it will be okay. There's a trust, there's an equanimity. And this is shown beautifully in the Ramayana. This outer success, outer success or failure. Did I make money? Did I not? Did my business grow by this percent? Did it not? This is not so much what a karma yogi looks for. This is a byproduct. Things will happen. Things will be successful outside. They will, because karma yogi is extremely focused on their action. But there's a lot of depth also, like we see in the example of Ravana. What happened is Ravana succeeded in taking away Mother Sita. He succeeded, right? So outer success. But inside, he was so agitated. He was so distressed. He was so disturbed. Then we look at Jatayu. Jatayu failed in defending Mother Sita. He failed because Ravana, Ravana hit him and he fell. He failed. But he got so much purity. He gained so much purity. And he was so equipoised that when Sri Rama went to him, to Jatayu, and Jatayu just said, look at the mind of Jatayu. Jatayu said, I must keep my life alive until Sri Rama comes. I mean, that kind of alertness was there. I must keep my mind alert, alive until Sri Rama comes. And when Sri Rama comes, he tells Sri Rama, she's gone to the southern direction. Ravana's taken her. And he says, I am just so fulfilled by having your darshan. And then he died. That kind of purity has happened to Jatayu. So what this is illustrating is, just think about this for a moment, that seeming outer success or seeming outer failure is not as important as what's happening inside. You think about Ravana, but you think about Jatayu. So one who understands this very clearly, that this is the purpose, the vision behind my action, is that G3, I told you, that's the vision behind my action. And therefore, whatever happens, let it happen. I know that in and through there is growth. I know. And a karma yogi knows that, they know that so much purification is happening inside. And this equanimity is called yoga. And in Adi Shankaracharyaji's commentary, he says something so beautiful. He says, yes, you do your actions to please God, but don't, even that expectation that, is God pleased with me? Is God not pleased with me? That should not be there. That should not be there. You do it to please God, but that is God pleased with me? Is God not pleased with me? That should not be there. You do it to purify your mind, but is my mind getting pure? Is it not getting pure? That should not be there. Don't even concern yourself with that thought. Just keep going. Just keep going. And this samatvam, this equipoise is yoga. So what does that mean? It means that, listen, in my action, if I am not equipoise, guess what? There's attachment there. Look for it. If in my action I'm not equipoise, there's selfishness in there. Look for it. Track it. Detect it. This is the key. Because if it's real karma yoga, one is absolutely relaxed, absolutely steady, and absolutely equipoise. So in this one verse, Lord Krishna brings out so much to Arjuna. Samatvam yoga uchyate. Now, let's see, Arjuna's there and he's thinking, okay, now I want like a clearer distinction. You're telling me this is Karma Yoga, but as if like an X-ray. This is karma, this is Karma Yoga. Let's make it so incredibly clear that I know what I'm doing in my life. I can see it. So then this verse comes. We are now on verse 49. Durena yavaram karma.
Durena hyavaram karma.
Buddhi yoga dhananjaya.
Buddhi yoga dhananjaya.
Buddhau sharanamanvicha.
Buddhau sharanamanvicha.
Kripanah phalahetavaha.
Kripana phalahetavaha.
Durena hyavaram karma. Buddhi yoga dhananjaya. Buddhau sharanamanvicha. Kripanah phalahetavaha. So now what he's saying is, O Dhananjaya, O Arjuna, this karma meaning desire prompted action or sakama karma is durena, is further, avaram, and is lower than buddhi yoga. Buddhi yoga, yoga buddhi means karma yoga. This karma is further, it's lower than karma yoga. And therefore he says, Buddhau sharanam anvicha. Anvicha means seek your sharanam, seek your refuge, Buddhau, in that karma yoga. Kripanaha phalahetavaha. Kripanaha means pitiable are those who are phalahetavaha, who are only thinking about the results and wanting them to be a certain way, or thinking about selfish results of action. They are pitiable. So how this translates, far lower. So yoga wisdom here means karma yoga. Far lower than karma yoga is action or regular karma, O Dhananjaya. Seek thou refuge in karma yoga. Wretched are they whose motive is the fruit. So here, now we look at karma versus karma yoga. Why is it so far? Why is it so different? So first, let's think. Okay, now we make so you can make a column in your notes or however you want to do it. But first you think of a few things. How you start the action, how you feel in the middle of the action, and how you feel at the end of the action. So first we'll divide it into 3 time periods. The beginning, the middle, the end. Now let us take up karma. Now in the beginning, now remember that verse Vyavasayatmika buddhihi, right? Remember. So for the one who is engaged in karma yoga, their purpose is very clear. For the one who's engaged in karma, they're confused. So in the beginning itself, there's a confusion because there's so many desires. I want to do this, but I want to do that, but I want to do this, I want to do that. And so their mind is like so spread out. So in the beginning, there is a sense of confusion, the beginning of the action. There is a sense of selfishness. And already in the beginning, there's this, I want this to happen. I want this to happen specifically. So in the middle, how would they feel? How would they feel in the middle is, they would feel like, is it happening? Is it not happening? There's a lot of agitation and stress and worry. Like, I want it to be this, but is it going to happen? Is it not going to happen? What's going to happen? How am I going to be? There's a lot of stress. And in the end, when the result comes, there's a lot of highs and lows. If it came the way I wanted it, very nice. Party like a rock star. But if it's so low, then one is just so down and out. right? Now in Karma Yoga, in the beginning, there's a lot of clarity of purpose. Because I told you the purpose is 3G, very clear. Please God and Guru, good for all, it's for my growth. Very clear, purpose is so clear. So in the middle now of the action, one can focus. It's not that they don't think about the future and they don't plan properly. They plan properly, but one can really just focus. Because purpose is very clear. This is my purpose. And whatever happens, I am going to accept it as prasad. So very focused in the action. And then in the end, one becomes very equipoise. Whatever happens, okay, let it happen. So you can see that throughout a karma yogi performing action, there's a lot of peace, relaxation, ease. And they go through life nicely. But for karma, it's like this, like this. Now, if you want to differentiate, okay, now let's differentiate again, now side by side. So in karma, as we said, it becomes very results oriented. I want it in a certain way. But in karma yoga, it's in the process. One is in the process. Result will come, but one is, there's a, how Gurudev puts it in the commentary, there's a sense of self-forgetfulness in the process. You almost lose yourself in the process because you enjoy it so much. You just enjoy it that you're lost in it. And there's a beauty to that. Then one, of course, is selfish pursuit. The other one is selfless. One, of course, is expecting a certain outcome. The other one is accepting whatever the outcome is. One, of course, is that mind becomes very agitated. One, the mind is quite relaxed. And the other one, karma, leads to bondage. It leads to more bondage. Because remember, a few classes ago, we went through this whole cycle of how actions can really bind us. We get the results, then we want more, so we act more. We get the results, we want more, we act more. It's very binding. Karma yoga, on the other hand, it purifies the mind and leads us to jnana yoga. Because we automatically, the thirst for the higher grows after a certain amount of karma yoga is performed. So you can see that they're really different. One is going downwards, one is going upward. So either durena, they're far, they're further from each other. One is going down, one is going up. Up means one is exiting the world, the other one is like sinking more in the world. So he says, now, so this is the explanation for how it's far, how it's lower. So he says, take refuge in that karma yoga. You know, practice it. Take refuge means practice it, engage in it, perform it. And he says, kripanaha phalahetavaha. Very pitiable are those who are constantly asking, what am I going to get? What am I going to get? What am I going to get? This is phalahetavaha. Guruji said something very nice. Somebody asked him, you know, you've served Chinmay Mission for so long. You know, what do you get from that? And he replied, I stopped asking what I'm going to get. That's what you get. You don't ask what you're going to get. Because in and through the fulfillment of the action, you feel fulfilled. You feel fulfilled in the very process itself. You don't have to wait. You know, in karma, it's like you're postponing your joy. You're saying, okay, wait, I can't be happy. Only after I get the result, I'll be happy. Wait. We're postponing our joy. Wait, I can't be happy. In karma yoga, you're like, I can be happy here and now. Let me enjoy this thoroughly, beautifully. And in and through, let me enjoy. Why postpone? We're so silly. We're taking away our own happiness. We don't even know it. Because we're saying, no, you can't enjoy. Wait for the result. That's quite silly, isn't it? Enjoy. The Bhagavad Gita, the Upanishads, they want us to enjoy life. The problem is we don't know how to enjoy life. We think we know how to enjoy life. But what we think is enjoyment of life is really nothing compared to this kind of enjoyment. It's nothing compared to it. And so he says, very miserly, very pitiable is the one who's just seeking a certain kind of result. It is like what we call pitiable, kanjus, like that pitiable miser. They have the money, but they don't want to spend, so they'll let's say they're very thirsty and they'll go somewhere and the coffee's $5 for coffee, $5, 5 minutes, I'll take $5 for coffee. What if you just give me water and coffee powder? $3. What if you just give me water? $1. Okay, I'll take it. This is kripana. You have the money, maybe you need a cup of coffee, then just spend the money and get the coffee, right? You have that ability. Use that ability. We have that ability to perform action and purify ourselves. Use it. Otherwise, we're like this kripana, we're like this miser. We have it, but we don't want to use it. What are you saving it for? What are we saving our abilities for, if not for this? There is no other purpose. There is no other purpose. Therefore, use it to the best of our ability. And this is the kushalata, or the speciality of karma yoga. Let's see now, verse 50, what is the speciality of karma yoga? This now is going to give a second definition on yoga. Very beautiful verses these are in karma yoga. When we keep reflecting on them, it will hit us deeper. So verse number 50 now. Buddhi yukto jahatiha.
Buddhi yukto jahatiha.
Ubhe sukrita dushkrite.
Ubhe sukrita dushkrite.
Tasmat yogaya yujyasva.
Tasmat yogaya yujyasva.
Yoga karmasu kaushalam.
Yoga karmasu kaushalam.
Buddhi yukto jahatiha. Ubhe sukrita dushkrite. Tasmat yogaya yujyasva. Yoga karmasu kaushalam. Now what is being said here? Buddhi yuktaha means endowed with that karma yoga buddhi. Endowed with that karma yoga buddhi. Iha, here, jahati, one casts off sukrita and dushkrita. Sukrita means punya or merit. Dushkrita means papa or demerit. Casting that off. Tasmad, therefore, yogaya yujyasva. Therefore, devote or engage in karma yoga. Yogaha karmasu kaushalam. Yogaha means dexterity or skill. Kaushalam, skill in action. So how does this translate? Endowed with karma yoga, the wisdom of karma yoga, evenness of mind, one casts off this in this life both good and evil deeds, or punya and papa. Therefore, devote thyself to karma yoga. Yoga is skill in action. So, step number 1, understand thoroughly karma yoga buddhi. right? So that means buddhi yukta. Understand it very clearly. We spoke about so many different aspects of it, but if you want a very crisp acronym, you can just keep this. And if you remember this, you're done for now, till we get to Jnana Yoga. It's called DIP, right? This D means to dedicate it to something higher. And you remember the 3 G's, dedicated to something higher. This I means being an instrument, seeing ourselves as an instrument of Bhagavan. And the P means accepting whatever I get as prasad. So it's as though you dip yourself into action. When you dip yourself into action, you dedicate, become an instrument, you accept whatever happens as prasad. In short, this is karma yoga. In short. So be in this buddhi, be in this attitude, understand this very well and very clearly. This is buddhi yukta, and cast off all the merits and demerits. So obviously demerits are casted off because demerits or papa happen when we perform prohibited karma or selfish karma. So therefore cast all of that off. So you don't get any papa or demerit. But also don't also think about punya. Don't also think about all of those things that might come to me. Remember, Adi Shankaracharya ji said, even let go of that thought that, will God be pleased with me? Is God pleased with me? Is my mind growing? Is my mind beautifying? Even all of that, let go of all of those thoughts. Let go, because that's not your and my concern. Our concern is not demerits. Our concern is not merits. This is not our concern, because both of them belong to the realm of the ego. They both belong to the realm of ego. Is this getting better? Is it not getting better? And what I'm trying to dissolve in karma yoga is I'm trying to dissolve or sublimate the ego. So if I'm thinking about all of these things, it's just fattening up my ego. So let go of all this demerit, that papa or that sin that can accrue from doing all these nishiddha or kamya karmas, and let also go of all these punya, all these merits, all these accolades, all these things that can occur in me when I perform good karma. Let go. That's not even the concern. And so he says, stay centered on karma yoga, understand it, let go of punya and papa, and tasmat, and therefore, Arjuna, I have spoken about this karma yoga since verse 38. I gave you a hint on how to do it. Because of all these reasons that I gave you, and I even told you about karma, I compared karma with karma yoga. Because of all of these things, and because of the beauty of karma yoga, because of what it can do to a seeker, how it can prepare a seeker, therefore, you just engage in it. Now do it. Now perform it. And he says, yoga karma sukaushalam. Yoga is really skill in action. Now, when people see this word, skill in action, there are many interpretations. And so one interpretation is that skill in action is that because somebody who's performing karma yoga is so much in the present, just watching them in self is such grace and such beauty. Like if you watch a singer or a dancer who's very present in what they're doing and loses themselves in the action and forgets themselves in the action, there is a beautiful skill to that. Or you go to a restaurant and you see a waiter or waitress and how they're able to carry so many things in 2 hands and they're still keeping their balance. And you say, wow, that is some skill that they have. Or we see one of our young teens who can do so many things on their phone and we're still wondering which button to press. that is a skill they have. right? Or our grandparents, how they cooked such tasty, wonderful, lovely things, how our parents do it, and we can't even do a quarter of that. That's also a skill. But in here, skill, there's a deeper meaning to it. So yes, there definitely is a skill when we're present in action, and when we're relaxed and we forget ourselves in action. There is a skill. But there's also a deeper level to the skill. The skill is this. In Karma Yoga, you can perform action without getting bound. You see, in action, there is this tendency to get bound. You get into an act, there's a tendency to get more and more and more into it. It takes more and more and more time. It takes more and more and more attention. It takes more and more of us. We get into any action, it takes more of us. And so there's this tendency of action to get bound in it, to get down in it. But the kaushala, or the kaushalata of action is you perform the action without getting bound. You perform it and you come out of it. You don't get bound by it. And you don't get bound by it because there's no selfishness there. There's a greater purpose. So it is like, now I want you to think of this example where, let's say we all go somewhere for a holiday. Somewhere for a holiday we all go. And it's an outdoor place and everyone has to build their own tents, right? And what happens in outdoor places with tents? There's a lot of mosquitoes. A lot of mosquitoes, right? So lots of mosquitoes are there. And so the next day, everyone wakes up and, some people wake up with mosquito bites in their arms, and some people like in their face, and some people in their legs, and they're just itching and scratching. But this one young girl, she wakes up and no mosquito bites. Why? Because she brought bug spray and she put it in herself and she went to sleep. And therefore, yoga karma sukoshalam. She didn't get bitten, right? That's what it is. That whole area was infested with mosquitoes, all of that. There's a tendency for them to bite, but if you protect yourself, you won't get bitten. When a doctor protects himself or herself from, now they have to have so much gear for protection, right? Then they won't get that disease. Even if they're treating the disease, they won't get that disease. So in the same way, even if we're in and through action, even if it has the tendency to take time, take attention, do all of these things, even if it has the tendency to bind us, we won't get bound if we know how to perform it to purify ourselves. That performing action to purify oneself is called skill. That's true skill. And that's why it is said here, yoga karmasu kaushalam. This is skill in action. Okay, so now I will just summarize what we've done today, and then we can, continue more on Karma Yoga next week. So today we really looked at verses 48 to 50. And in 48, there's one definition of yoga called samatvam, equanimity. And so in 48, Lord Krishna says, do your dharma. No escape from that. Do your dharma. Do it. But without attachment. For the pleasing of God, Guru, for the good of all, for growth, but don't do it for a certain result in mind, for a certain selfish pursuit. Don't do it for that. And you will be able to accept then whatever happens with complete equanimity. And this equanimity, samatvam yoga uchyate, is called yoga. Then in verse 49, we really saw an x-ray of how karma is different from karma yoga. It's a win-win situation. So it's kind of weird if after studying all of this, we still perform actions in karma spirit instead of karma yoga. So he makes it very, very clear that they are far apart. And he says, take refuge in that karma yoga. And then in verse 50, he says, what is yoga? Yoga really is skill in action. It's being able to perform an action without being bound. Perform an action for purification. Okay? So we'll say the closing prayer. Then I have a few words to share about Diwali and also an important announcement to make. So please do stay back. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.